Hey, how y'all doing? So, what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about why I'm pissed off this morning. You know, on the way in to the White House every morning, I read press releases, and the continuation of the media that want to push out false information about the Trump administration, what we're doing as far as immigration. I'm just sick and tired of it. So let me explain what this administration is doing. So, you know, I read every morning how inhumane the Trump administration is and how the president, myself, and others are racist, white nationalists, and just inhumane people, cruel people. There's nothing further from the truth. And let me explain something. Under Joe Biden, last administration, yeah, I don't want to be political, but guess what? I'm going to be. So under the last administration, they say those policies were so humane and how we came in and how our policies are inhumane and causing death and just cruelty. So let me explain the difference between the last administration and this administration. The last administration, because they opened the border up, because they sent a message around the world, you can enter the country legally, it's a crime, don't worry about it. Turn yourselves into a Border Patrol agent, get processed and released within 24 hours. We'll fly you to the city of your choice on a taxpayer dime. We'll put you in a free hotel room. We'll give you 3 squares a day. We'll give you free medical care. And after a few months, you'll get work authorization, which is the real reason you came. You weren't really, you know, asylum seeker. You might call them asylum seeker, but 90% of asylum seekers end up with an order removal because they're not escaping fear and persecution from the homeland because of race, religion, or political affiliation. They come here for a better life, and I get that. That's not asylum. But under President Biden, over 4,000 aliens died making that journey. Historic record. Over 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the open border. Historic record. Women and children were sex trafficked. An historic record. No inspected terrorists came to the southern border. An historic record. Yeah, they broke records. They were killing Americans at record numbers. They were killing aliens at record numbers. And that's not to mention that on an average day, 70% of agents were off the line, off patrol, because they're busy taking care of this humanitarian crisis that they created on purpose. It wasn't mismanagement. It wasn't incompetence. It was by design. So what does President Trump do? First of all, promises made, promises kept. So President Trump, when he called me up to come back, I came out of retirement twice for this president because this president is the greatest president in my lifetime. As a border guy, a national security guy, an immigration guy, I say that from the bottom of my heart. The data proves it. No one's done it better. I've worked for 6 presidents, 10 administrations. No one even comes close to the success of President Trump. So right now, because of President Trump's leadership, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. So the president called me up the second time. I was actually out to dinner with my wife, and right after the election, and we're having dinner, and my phone's sitting on the table, and all of a sudden it rang, and it says, POTUS. My wife says, oh my God. You're not going to go back again, are you? I said, hey, let's see what he wants. I call him up, and he said, that's what he said. First thing he said, you've been bitching about it for 4 years. You want to come fix it? So, you know, how do you say no to that, right? So I came back in, and she goes, well, I said, well, get ready for another ride. I'm going back. And I did. He said, on that conversation, he said 3 things to me. I need you to do 3 things, Tom. I need you to secure the border. I need you to run a mass deportation operation. I need you to find these missing children. That's the 3 things he gave me. I told him, I said, look, we'll lock the border down in 2 months because we did it in Trump 45. We can brush off the plans. I had a few other ideas to add to that plan. We'll lock it down in 2 months. He says, great, make it a month. That's all right. I says, mass deportation, no problem there, because the last administration had over 10 million legal aliens in this country. So we got plenty of people to go find. We can get that done. I said, but the children, sir, is not going to be easy. Because I know that under the last administration, they were released to unvetted sponsors. Their number one goal is push these kids out as soon as they could so there's no overcrowding. Same they did with the aliens, push them out, send them to their cities. Because the last thing they want is the images of overcrowding at the border, overcrowding in any of the facilities, because that tells a story. They don't want that story told, so move people as quick as possible. So look, most secure border in history. Check, done. Number two, mass deportations. The first year under President Trump, almost 1 million people were removed. No president even come close to that. So check. And despite what the media says, 60 to 70% of everybody we arrest is a criminal, which means they're pending criminal charges or they have a criminal conviction. Now, there's some say we should be arresting everybody. Well, we are. But when you got a public safety threat here and a non-public safety threat there, you always got to get that guy first. He's the biggest danger to our communities. But I'd rather have it as 60 criminal and 40 non-criminal than have it 40 non-criminal and 60, not criminal. It's always better to have more criminals because what we're doing every day, we remove a public safety threat, we're making this country safe again. So we had a record historic year with deportations, but now we got 10,000 more agents on board, or it should be on board by the end of next month. Wait till next year. The third thing, the children. Under President Trump's leadership, first of all, under the last administration, nearly 500,000 children were smuggled into this country, separated from their parents, put in hands of criminal cartels, and released to unvetted sponsors. The old Secretary of HHS, Becerra, he stood on stage numerous times and was bragging about how quick these kids get released from custody. Shame on him. Because let me tell you what we found out. Many of the addresses provided by the sponsors didn't exist. We're out there looking for these kids, and the address is a supermarket, a parking lot, a church, shopping mall. Many of the IDs provided by the sponsors were fraudulent. Home checks weren't done to verify that that person lived at this address and it's a place where a child could be raised. They didn't vet the sponsors properly. They didn't vet anybody else in the household. Under President Trump, 45, not only did we vet the sponsor, we vetted everybody in that household to make sure there's not a predator or criminal in that household. We have found that a single male had 18 children assigned to him. I knew this would be tough, and I told the president, we can find you. You own a car, you own a home, you pay bills, you pay utility bills, you got a credit card. You all have a digital footprint. We can find you. How do you find a child that don't have a digital footprint? And I told the president, I know for a fact, because I've been screaming about it for 4 years, that we got to count on the digital footprint of the sponsor. And when they provide false identity, false addresses, they weren't vetted, the home checks weren't done, we can't verify who these people are, that digital footprint's going to be a mess. And it has been. But under President Trump's leadership, we have already found 147,000 of these children. Now, many of these children were safe with their family, just hiding out because they don't want to be deported. But many, too many, were victims of sex trafficking and forced labor. So I don't want to hear another damn word about President Trump being inhumane. He's saving lives every day. There's been studies done that 31% of women, these studies are done by independent groups, up to 31% of women that make that journey coming to the United States get sexually assaulted. 31% admitted they got sexually assaulted making that journey. If 31 admitted it, how many is that number really? So when President Trump has illegal immigration down 97%, how many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many known suspected terrorists aren't coming into the country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't coming across the border to kill Americans? President Trump is saving thousands of lives every month, but no one wants to talk about it. I'm talking about it. And we're not going to stop talking about it. And the media, you can keep writing all the hit pieces you want on me. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care I'm not running a popularity contest, so write what you want, but Tom Homan's going to stay. I'm not going anywhere, and we're going to keep pushing the lever. We're going to make this country safe again. We're going to secure our border, and we're going to be a nation of laws. President Trump, let me say this. I'm sick and tired of reading about the evil man in the White House. I have spent so much time with this president, whether it's on Air Force One, in the Oval Office, at Mar-a-Lago, doing trips together, whatever it is. I started in 1984. I spent a career as a special agent, criminal investigator. You learn how to study people. And I'm telling you, I respect President Trump as much as I do my own dad. Because I know what's inside him. I know where his heart's at. I've been with him, and I've never met anybody that loves this country so much as that man. Now, look, is he perfect? No. If you want the president to be perfect, you better wait for the second coming of Jesus, because I've never met a perfect man in my life. I'm proud to work for him, because I know when it comes to border security, national security, enforcing our laws in this country, having the backs of the men and women of law enforcement, no one's done it better. Nobody. And I'm going to end with this. I say I got 2.5 minutes left. To the media, stop attacking the members of ICE. These are I want you to know the men and women of ICE, who I was one. Look, I wore that Border Patrol uniform. I was an ICE agent. When I was a director of ICE, I didn't ask any of the 20,000 men and women that worked for me to do anything that I didn't do myself. I know what these people deal with. I know the death threats are up 8,000%. I know that personally. That's why I'm surrounded by security detail. I got 24/7. I can't even go to the grocery store without security detail. But to the haters and cartel members who threaten me, come get some, because I'm tired of you. President Trump will wipe the criminal cartels, the drug cartels. He's playing the away game, which is smart. We've been playing the home game for decades. Now President Trump's taking a fight to them in the away game, and what a difference he's making. Fentanyl deaths have decreased significantly. Drugs from this country's decreased significantly. I think President Trump, by the time he leaves office, will wipe these criminal drug cartels off the face of the earth. But the death threats aren't going to stop me. But, you know, I'm lucky. I have a security detail. The men and women of ICE don't. And I know the threats they're dealing with. Not only are they being doxxed, their spouses are being doxxed. Their children are being doxxed. It's amazing what's going on right now. I just can't believe it. The hate for these men and women. But the men and women of ICE are just like you. Their moms and dads, their sons and daughters, their brothers and sisters who strap a gun to their hip every day, put a Kevlar vest on to go arrest the worst of the worst in this nation. And they're getting attacked by members of Congress who want to call them the Gestapo and the secret police. Well, I'll tell you what, They're enforcing the law that you wrote, so if they're a racist for enforcing that, what's that make you? You wrote the law. My wife told me don't go to the stage pissed off today, but I can't help it because it's just who I am. Look, I take this personal. I take it personal because what President Trump is doing is saving lives. I've stood in the back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead people at my feet, including a 5-year-old boy that they all baked to death. I got to the crime scene. They were all in underwear trying to get some relief from the 170-degree heat in the back of a steel truck with no air. Think of the way these people died. I've gotten on my knees to talk to little girls as young as 9 that were raped multiple times by members of a cartel. And when you get on your knees, you talk to a little girl that everything innocent and pure and has been ripped from her. That's what happens when you have an unsecure border. Well, guess what? There's no little 9-year-old girl right now that anybody's getting on their knees and talking to because President Trump has closed the border down. I'll leave you with this. Secure borders saves lives. Secure borders protects our national security. No one's done it better than President Trump, and we ain't finished yet. God bless you.